co-champion of the Lean Agile group, and Anne-Marie Kong is my partner in crime in organizing this. This is the final session of this cycle. Take a break for the summer, and we'll start up again in September. So thank you for showing up for the...
Are we going to do like socials in the summer?
We could do that. I mean,
then that means just not the final one.
Or at least one.
Show for an ice cream social.
So,
or beer.
Patio, nachos, beers, yeah.
Yeah, well, Eber has a patio now. So I'd be happy to send out an invitation, make that happen. So thank you for that suggestion. I've been at this for a while. If anybody's interested in helping organize the Lean Agile group for next year, please let me know. Should I take a vote of hands? Until recently, I was the Lean Agile coach at D2L. I'm currently a free agent, and if anybody wants to talk about that, I'd be happy to do that. That's my own person. I'd like to introduce Hino. Hino has been part of the Agile community for, I want to say forever, but for a long time. Coming from extreme programming into broader concern with Agile, spreading Agile ideas throughout organizations. He most recently was working at EPAM, which is probably the largest contract provider of computing talent in the world, but you've never heard of them. And he was responsible for spreading Agile practices through the 3,000-ish folks at EPAM. Is that fair?
3,000-ish, 20,000.
20,000-ish worldwide? Okay. So I think he's taking a well-deserved break from that. I don't think he was ever in Canada. Lived on a plane. And so I'm grateful that he's taking a break, and I'm even more grateful that he's here to share some of his ideas and insight with us today.
About the camera? About the camera?
Oh, sorry. George likes to record these if possible. If anybody has any objection to their face showing up in his recording, please raise your hand and he'll blur it out or do whatever, or if you don't want it recorded.
Or make it even darker.
Yeah. Everybody okay with that?
I'm okay. I'm just wondering if you post them anywhere on social media.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Okay.
To
the public.
Okay.
So it's turned out to be a wonderful service, so thank you, George. But some people don't want to show up there, so we always like to ask. I'd like to thank Communitech before we go. They've been a fantastic partner in providing space and some of the logistic help. And I'll let you take the floor.
Thank you. So, thanks, Andrew, and thanks for inviting me to be here. I wanted to do something that I did actually when. Okay, let's step back a little bit. I think it was 2 weeks ago, Andrew, that we spoke about potentially speaking at this event, and. So I looked into your meetup group, and I was looking at what you already had done and so forth. And I wanted to make sure that it was something that you hadn't done before. So I'm going to introduce to you a workshop format that can actually help you to get the best out of your teams during working together. That's really what it's all about. And you'll hopefully notice throughout the workshop, because I'm actually running the workshop that introduces the workshop format to you. It's kind of a recursive thing for who's into recursive programming. I hope that you get some value from this even outside of workshops, because it's based on a couple of principles that you can use outside of running workshops alone. Right? I heard a few things about people who are starting to do Agile, people who just started with Agile, people who did Agile and now want to go a step further. One thing that I want to tell you all is you are all Agile and always have been. Anything you do that uses common sense, you're actually being Agile. The problem is that in software engineering, what we have been doing is we have been modeling the way that we make software to what people have done before us. And what people have done before us was in an entirely different context as where we are today. When people made software in the 50s, they didn't have the fast feedback that we have today. It took them 2 weeks to actually compile a program in the first place. It took them so much longer to write this on floppy disks and install 17 floppy disks on your computer and get the feedback from being able to actually use this. And then email did not exist in the same way as it does today either, so getting feedback was really hard. And getting it back to the source was even harder, right? So you are all Agile. The only thing that we need to do is bring common sense back to the software engineering industry. But that's kind of a side note. That's not what this session is about. So, who am I? I'm Hino Marks. I'm originally from Belgium, live in Toronto right now. Moved to Canada in 2008. I co-founded the Toronto Software Development Community, Agile Software Development Community, if you have heard about it. This, the Agile Tour was their conference that kickstarted this. And I kind of do a little bit of everything in terms of being engaged with companies, but I'm most passionate about building teams and making sure that they get, that they can thrive, that they can come to their full potential, and that people who are working as part of those teams are really passionate in what they do. What you'll do today is a workshop. So whichever seat you're in right now, expect not to sit in the same seat by the end of the day, or by the end of the hour. So let's put it that way. So that's definitely one thing. And the goal that we have for today, your assignment that we have for today, is finding ways to improve workshops, to actually get more output from workshops. And through that process of you actually figuring out how you get more out of workshops, you will use a couple of Agile lean principles. Okay. Does that sound good? That's what we're going to do today. So let me first give you a little bit of history of where this all comes from. Who's ever done a workshop that results in something like this? What would you consider this to be? Is this a lot of output? Is this great? Is this a lot of creative juices flowing? What is it like? Well, I'm not really a guy who just stands there and talks to you guys. I want to hear some input from you.
It does look like a lot of creative juices.
A lot of creative juices flowing.
It's accumulated and now it's hard to digest. But if you were there
for
as
sure,
part of the
but
process, it probably meant a lot.
Yeah. So do most people feel the same, or are there other opinions as well? Right? This actually was a really good workshop. It was a fantastic workshop. There was a lot of people who had an awful lot of great ideas. They had things around accelerators or initiatives and projects that they wanted to start. They had things around metrics. I think the metrics were somewhere else. It's hard for me to read it right now. On how to get all that stuff off the ground and test actually whether or not those initiatives would deliver what they thought or what they hoped it would deliver. The problem with those workshops was, once the workshop was done, that was the result and that's where it stopped. None of those initiatives really happened. None of those metrics really were further developed, were written down, were communicated, were implemented, and people didn't get the benefits from them. So would you consider this a good workshop? It has a lot of output, not a lot of outcome, right? So what we really want is we want our workshops to have outcome. Because what you get otherwise is when you organize a workshop and you invite people to it, the first time they might be very passionate and very interested and say, yeah, this is a topic that is near to our heart, let's go there, let's invest the time in it. And then they see 2-3 months later, what has happened to the outcome? We spent 2-3 hours in that workshop and nothing has happened ever with it. Would you be interested in going again to the next one? Right?
Well, I would still say that it's a good workshop. It's just that no one really took ownership of the initiative.
Fair.
And that's a larger issue.
It is a larger issue. I consider that, I mean, what is the goal of the workshop in the end?
Well, depends on the workshop, really.
Right, exactly. But the goal of the workshop in this case was actually to have those things implemented.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, you can't do that throughout the workshop. You only have 3-4 hours, whatever. Even if you have 2 hours, you still cannot do it. Right? Oh, sorry, 2 days, you still cannot do it. So the workshop is only a start. But the goal of the workshop is not to come up with an awful lot of ideas. The goal of the workshop is to come up with ideas that are actually finally implement and to drive it further. So that's one of the very crucial aspects. And that's where I make a distinction between workshop output and workshop outcome. And what we're going after is workshop outcome. And when I say supercharge your team output, that's what I mean by that. Turn your output into outcome. That's actually my goal. So where does this come from? So a company that we worked with also, and Andrew was right, I worked with EPAM Systems for a couple of years. I reported to the CTO, I led the Agile Competency Center across the globe, and I was in charge of the education or the internal communication, at least around internal events. And we had a company who came to us and they said like, yeah, we have some challenges with this particular product, and it costs too much, it takes us too long to implement this particular release. Could you help us with this? And obviously we had worked with these workshops before, so we had somehow figured out a way to be effective with them. And we helped them with this. And indeed, in I think it was a day workshop in our office in Toronto at that time, which does not exist anymore, or at least not for that company. And we worked with those guys, and we got through that workshop in one day with 6 people around the table, I believe, of the company. And we got to faster time to market, not only of the product, but also of the ideas that were in the workshop itself. All of the people were completely aligned by the time that they left the workshop. And the implementation was validated. We had architects in the room, and architects and developers in the room who knew that the solutions that we came up with actually fitted within their infrastructure. And they knew that they could implement it within the allotted time frame. And then they said, hey, you need to teach us how to run that workshop. So like, wait a second. What do you mean? And said, yeah, teach us what you did there. And clearly you guys got it under control. And we said, no, it's just the way we work. We really have no idea. There's not a process. So before I knew it, I was on a plane to Calgary, and I had to actually write down or write a training or figure out how to train other people in running that workshop. This is how I came up with something like this. So what is the workshop like? Well, you have people. All those people in the room somehow need to work together. When they work together, they get to ideas and questions and so forth. And they all, somehow, this ends up in a product. And we do this through micro iterations, and micro iterations are really, really short. They're like 3 to 5 minutes usually. And all of that is a little bit of magic, and that's it. That's the workshop format. That's how it works. I have a little bit more of a sophisticated slide afterwards that explains it a tiny bit better. But really, this is a good summary. And this is pretty much a drawing that came, I drew it again myself yesterday, but this is a drawing that came from one of the participants in the workshop itself when they summarized what the process looked like. Just people working together, exchanging ideas, generating questions and ideas, turning it into a product, and it's all some magical thing happening. And that's really what it is. So I want you to experience it, so let's just get started. You see that I have flip charts here. I want you, how many people do we have? There's 7 there, there's another 7 here, so it's 14 in total. Let's do 3 groups of 4, or 2 groups of 5 and 1 of 4, and let's work that way. And I have enough flip charts and all kinds of stuff, so just organize yourself around the table in groups of 4 and maximum 5.
Well, this is hard. 2 on that side, 2 on that side.
And there's a whole bunch of pens and markers and all kinds of things. Yeah, well, I'm just going to drop them here. Well, you know what? I'm going to put those in the middle and you grab them yourselves. Okay, so what are we going to do? So this shouldn't take too long, right? And don't worry about the groups, because I told you already before, you will be in different groups in 3 minutes from now. Okay?
I think these 2 are in as well. You guys can be 5. We need 2
Okay, so I need one more person here. Are you participating as well, or are you mainly...
Half.
Well, it's up to you. It's up to you, but if you... So one more person here, I don't care who it is. You gotta change anyways. This is moving around this waste, and I realize that. but it's a necessary waste in this case, so I'm taking it. Okay, so you guys have flip charts, you guys have pens, there's more pens in the middle if you need more. We'll get to this later on, you don't need that right now yet. Oh, and we got many more pens, and more colors for the people who like colors. Okay, so what is the first thing that I want you to do? So, remember what your assignment is. The assignment of today is to figure out how we can make better workshops, how we can optimize our workshop outcome. That's the whole question. That's the whole goal that we have to achieve today. Okay? So the first thing that I want you to do with regards to that goal, so keep that in mind, that's the context, right? I gave you a little bit of context as well. You will work in micro iterations. So again, don't be afraid to leave your stuff somewhere far behind you because people are going to start moving around. People will not work in the same groups anymore. If you don't like someone, don't worry about it. Next iteration you're sitting somewhere else, right? So the first question that you're going to answer is this. Is brainstorm typical challenges with workshops. What are the challenges that you have? And keep in mind, I'm thinking about workshop outcomes. Not just the output, but the outcomes, actually having them implemented. Okay? So what are those challenges? Just brainstorm. I don't want the most important challenges. I don't want you to challenge other people like, no, that's not a challenge, we don't have this is not as important as the ones that we have. I want you to list as many different ideas as possible, and everyone's ideas count. Okay? 3 minutes, that's all you have.
I can write.
Not clear ground rules.
You don't want videos
Create a disconnect.
Related.
We don't agree on how to decide.
Making sure that everyone feels confident enough to openly discuss the things they want. I don't know, this was a vicious activity. Trust building.
Yeah. Yeah, more pens as well. Multiple people want to write. Yeah.
Safe to speak up, and more important, safe to challenge.
It's not just the workshop, but also getting to the outcome. So like actually prioritizing not how to work, not more just like after the work, prioritizing the work after the workshop.
Organizing the next steps.
So it's related to this.
It's going to be hard for you to film this.
Yeah, in my brain, I have all of these options. Or which series
I'm thinking more like you go back to your regular shop.
Now I understand.
Now
I understand.
Is it something that's different per person, objective? But I mean, I'm leaning to going back to what is the right objective? Is that going to be the same for everyone?
Kind of related to this and this. Everybody's it's kind of like three linemen and an elephant thing, where it's like everybody's coming from different angles, too many perspectives, or accepting that. It's kind of like brainstorm.
So, I agree with that. Another problem I see all the time is we come with all of these options, but we never talk about what is it that we're going to stop in order to do one of these things.
Which is back to
But it's often like outside, assume that outside the workshop, nothing will change. And if we're going to do something, we're just going to pile it on top. And I don't know about you, but that's not real.
The whole too many cooks in the kitchen. I've definitely had that kills initiative.
He was saying that
with this huge organization that just brought 6 people in.
I didn't bring my wheel balls, I have to do it with a software one. Sorry about that.
So this was 3 minutes. Was that enough time?
Not really. Good, it's not enough time. That's the intent. Okay, so can I hear from each group actually what you came up with? And other groups, listen really carefully because you will need to use that. Yeah. Anyone?
Having clear ground rules. People don't agree on how to decide. Trust for open dialogue. Safety. Being able to prioritize or commit to the next steps, that people generally want to be back to their regular job the next day.
Yep.
Having people with different perspectives, and related to the prioritization, what can we stop in order to do the new stuff?
Said it again. What can we stop in order to do the new stuff?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because people are busy already.
People are busy already.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah.
And then just lack of focus during the workshop.
Yeah, lack of focus is a big one as well. Yeah, absolutely. Other groups.
We had a few that kind of hit around a common point. Is the scenario within the workshop not matching what's in your real world, so that makes it hard to bring back to your work, sort of thing.
What do you mean? It's like a simulation kind of thing?
Oh, okay. Yeah, like that.
Bad simulation?
Or just not meaningful to every individual. Maybe it's not the right objective. Maybe we're solving the wrong problem. Or just there's no common goal that everyone really has in their personal lives.
Okay.
We also had not taking ownership of the outcomes and bringing them to your workplace. If it's disorganized, if there's too many people and they can't come to an agreement, and also just not taking notes.
Yeah. Okay. What do you guys come up with?
Workshops are boring. Not always, but that would be a challenge.
Not this one.
Not yet. Ways that are slightly better. Scheduling a location, actually getting a workshop to happen and all the people at it. Unimplementable outcomes, I think that's the same as what you were saying, may have come up with a good decision in theory, but everybody knows it's not really going to happen. Unbalanced participation, where a few dominate the whole workshop. No notes, no goals, no actions, outcomes squashed by priorities or resources. That's the same thing. Nobody has time to do what is decided we should do. And conflicting goals, where people want different things out of the workshop.
So the things that I hear, the things that I said in the beginning, the customer had issues with aligning stakeholders. I hear conflicting goals, aligning stakeholders, people going to the same direction. I hear time to market. It takes too long to schedule something, especially when it's absolutely necessary. Sometimes it's even impossible to find time for everyone in the schedule too. Also, during the workshop, you usually don't necessarily have a good process to go somewhere in a certain direction. And the third one was making sure that the solutions were implementable, right? So, and why would that be in the situations that you have encountered, that those implementations were not valid, achievable? Why would that be? Is that because you had the wrong people in the room? Is that because we were not grounded, if you will, in reality? What was the reason?
It could be a lack of preparation.
A lack of preparation? Yeah, I have my own ideas about that as well, yeah.
Not grounded, I think, is quite common.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what we should do, but there is something in the process or in the people or in something that just means that desired outcomes are not going to...
Workshops are about dreaming, right? Are about dreaming and stepping out of your own soul, well, stepping out of your own body, I would say, and doing something that you otherwise wouldn't do. Yeah, all of those problems are very true. Have you listened to the other people very well as well? Okay, with that input, refine your list, add stuff to it. 2 minutes only, okay? 2 minutes. Things that you heard that trigger new ideas?
It's like giving it from here to here.
Don't make a new list, right? Refine it. Yeah. Refactor, if you will.
like this idea of the workshop somehow separate, and we don't have authority. Maybe the right people are not in the room trust.
Yeah, which might be very much related to that, right?
It can be, but
sorry, that's not the whole thing.
It is the whole thing, but ideas
It's clearly superior.
but also open dialogue.
So something there, it's a common goal. Something that I actually recently went through is that a lot of different people with their own vision of what the outcome would look like.
No shared understanding.
There's
I take this one as meaning
Unactionable outcomes.
it doesn't actually fit every work.
Yeah, or like once you come up with these reactions, you have no way to gauge your current action.
But the ownership is for some kind of impact or outcome. Really.
Like of actions afterwards.
Yeah, I think people feel ownership of the great ideas that we came up with, but turning them into action.
One of the things
So something that you heard that.
okay.
I'm reaching out for my bell here, but I didn't bring it with me. We're still in my office. Okay, so that was another 2 minutes. What I'm going to do now is 2 people of every team just move around the table. You leave the sheet wherever it is. The 2 people move to the next team. I don't care whose people those are. Yeah. So go clockwise, right? So every team has. Or counterclockwise. Go counterclockwise. That seems to be what you're doing. No. A request. So everybody has an equal amount of people again on their team? Okay, good. The same thing, refine. So what I want you to do is, I want you as existing team explain what those things are on the list, and the new people on there, just add some new stuff to it, and make sure that it's clear, that everybody understands, that you're okay with that, okay?
Can we not use these markers, please? I'm starting to get a fight from them.
Okay, absolutely.
They've got a,
I gotta take other ones. Yeah, these are, there's a lot of alcohol in there, I think.
yeah, like they've got a
Yeah.
strong scent.
I have Sharpies too. I have Sharpies over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can have the can with Sharpies over here, that would be great. Yeah. Okay, so 2 minutes, go.
Yeah, so
So having clear ground.
Yeah, no, I want to get rid of them. That's why I use them.
How to decide specifically, specifically like how we're going to make the decision, whether it be voting or
Would that fit under clear ground?
Yeah, I find that, but it's specifically
Predefine.
having trust for open dialogue, people feel safe to share. Prioritizing the next steps, people generally go back to their regular job. And related to that, what can we do to stop?
Image for this, mental image is like kids that go, it's my ball, I do my way or I'll go home.
Okay, so somebody who comes knowing what the outcome of the workshop
Okay, so we standard on this to say
this one are kind of related.
dominators,
Less than 1 minute.
and wallflowers.
too many people. If there's anything that you're looking at, you're like, what does that mean? Also, feel free to ask. What was the idea there? I think I covered most of what we got there.
So no ownership, like nobody's going to take ownership of this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So are we supposed to add more now?
Well, I think it's refining.
Refine. So refine is add.
I got a feeling it's already there.
Change.
I don't have the authority to make
Yeah, it's like this and this.
I kind of feel like it's mixed into that, but it might be big enough to be a separate one.
Okay, so this time is done too. Go ahead. Change this one instead. So where's that? Okay, so this was another 2 minutes. That goes fast, right? So would you feel that you have contributed to whatever is in front of you already? Who feels that they have not contributed?
People
I don't see.
moved, you mean? Or?
No. I mean, do you feel that something is on there and you say like, yeah, this is kind of my list too. Whether or not I wrote it down or not, this is kind of my list too. Does everybody feel that way? Because that's the intent. And I could have you move around 10 times more, which would make it feel even more so, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. What I want you to, so that's kind of the intent. The reason why you're moving around is because I want you to align. It's because I want, and I can tell you that most of those pages are probably similar. And especially the next exercise I'm going to do, or the next question, is prioritize this. What has the biggest impact? And I bet you that you will have 5 things with 6 people. Oh, sorry, with 3 groups. 5 things while I say, give me the top 3 things. You will not have more than 5. That's what I'm expecting. So everybody has contributed. You're working in small groups, you're contributing all the time. Everybody's more comfortable contributing in a group of 5 people than they are in a group of 30 people. Some of the questions or some of the problems that we already talked about was, well, if you have a workshop with 20 people, there's always 3 or 4 people talking, and the rest are just sitting there. It's disengaged because they can't contribute, they have good ideas, don't get me wrong, but they don't come out. They don't make the workshop better, right? And you have dominant personalities and so forth, and obviously that plays a role as well. But if those dominant personalities move around, then you have them for 3 minutes on your team, and that's it. Right? And then somebody else's problem, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is 1 minute only, and I want the top 3 things. 1 minute only. However you want to do that. Do you want to do a thumb vote on it? Do you want to do a dot vote on it? I'm assuming everyone knows what a dot vote is. Right, let's say that everyone has 5 dots and you distribute them however you want, or 3 dots, you distribute them however you want. I want the top 3 things on that list that have the most impact. If you would magically be able to solve them, they would improve your workshops the most. If those 3 things would just magically disappear. What would those 3 things be? 1 minute.
Everyone gets 3 dots?
And all remember like 3, it'll be fun to look at when you go action.
And then I would put one more.
It's awfully quiet.
Trust the discussion. Yep. Go.
Come on guys, 1 minute is not long, half a minute left.
All right, that's my 3.
Thanks.
Great, is that everyone?
It is. So there's 1, 2,
Well, this is also a few. So we have.
No, that start is not a.
Oh, you're right.
Okay, so this is 1 minute. Okay, so what are those? Okay, so everybody has their top 3? Yep. So what is the top 3? Doesn't matter who shouts first.
No actions, no goals, psychological safety, and trust.
Okay, so no actions, no goal. I'm going to say common goal.
Sure.
And no psychological safety or no trust.
Correct.
Safety.
Unbalanced participation.
Unbalanced participation. How do you translate that? What does that mean? What do you mean by that? A few people are not, so not enough engagement. Yeah. I'm going to say unbalanced. I understand now what it means.
Not mentally unbalanced.
Potentially.
And no actionable output.
Yeah.
And no authority to implement.
No authority to implement. Okay, what do you have? I hope I'm not getting
We
more
also
than
had
5.
not the right people or authority.
Yeah.
So we had that one. We had being able to prioritize to the next steps.
That's the actions, I'm assuming?
Yeah. But not just what the actions are, but being able to commit and be able to do them, right?
Well, when I hear action, there's really action in the word itself,
Okay.
right? So I'm assuming that's really happening.
And the third was trust for open dialogue and safety.
Hey, 5! I told you! It could have come up with 9, right?
That's the magic.
That's the magic in that box on the left-hand side there, right? No, but this is true. This is happening all the time. And the more complex the problems you have, the more this will happen. So these are the challenges that you're dealing with. And these things come back all the time. You don't have any authority in the room. Participation is very imbalanced. Not everyone is actually contributing. That's what I'm talking about, or at least that's how we interpret it. There's no trust and safety, which actually will obviously have some issues with that as well. This might be counterbalanced though. Having authority in the room might actually cause that trust to go down. Right? This is something that you need to keep in mind as well, yeah?
So one of the things related to no authority is also not necessarily within the context of the work group, but when you go back, the ideas you take out, you might not have the authority to implement it within the workplace.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I know exactly what, or at least that's how I interpret it, right? No common goal, that there's multiple agendas around the room, and no actions, no output, and which all goes together with no authority as well. Yeah, this is happening all the time, right? These are challenges that we have. I'm sure the format that you're doing right now, we're actually addressing those things. This, you've already seen, unbalanced participation. By having smaller teams and having micro iterations and having people move around the table, what you're actually getting is you get an input, your voice is heard around every single team. It's a very important thing. And it's not, now we have 3 groups only, and I go clockwise and counterclockwise, but I've done this with teams of 60, 70 people, and I mix and match all over the place. And by the end, no one sitting on the same seat anymore is working with the same person. They work with almost everyone around the room, right? So trust and safety is increased as well because you're working in a smaller group, because oftentimes nobody knows what anybody else's role in the group is either. So that makes people speak up more. The common goal, the first thing that we've done here is find the goal that we have for this particular session. Is what are the problems that we're trying to solve, these challenges? What are those things that you identify yourself? And it's your problems because you have identified them, right? So you agree with those already as well. And no actions, we'll get to that later on, right? So those things are coming back all the time. Now, what can you use this type of workshop for? Really, I've used it for all of these things and a lot more. And all of these things, it started with requirements gathering, but project initiation at the start of a project, really good for that as well, because you need to be aligned with a team, multiple stakeholders. Validation of a business case, I've got a couple of real good case studies for that as well. Preparation of an RFP response, why not? You can walk by, don't worry. Project retrospective, post-mortem, address challenges at the office, building a metrics framework, anything that I would classify as a complex challenge or a complex problem. Does everybody know what that means? Does everybody know the Cynefin framework? Who does not know the Cynefin framework? Okay, so Cynefin is basically a framework, it's a model. It's a model for systems complexity. And it basically is it's easiest to explain if you explain the relationship between cause and effect, right? So simple systems, the cause and the effect is related, and everyone understands how they are related. For instance, a bicycle is a simple system. The harder you push on the pedal, the faster the bicycle goes. You don't need to be a bicycle mechanic to understand that. Everyone understands that. If you push harder on the pedal, the bicycle goes faster. Cause and effect are very clear. Cause and effect are very clear as well in complicated systems, but you need to be a domain specialist. For instance, I have no knowledge about cars, none. I know that my car goes faster when I push on the pedal, but I could not explain to you why. Go to my car mechanic and he will bore you to death about it. He can explain it. You need to be a domain specialist. Those are complicated systems. Cause and effect are still, those relationships are very clear, but you need to know what you're talking about. Complex systems are a different kind of system. You can predict what the effect will be based on the cause, but once you get the effect, you can explain where it came from. And actually, you can start using that in future problems of kind of in the same domain. And this is why we actually use experimentation there to deal with those kinds of systems. And then you have absolutely no relationship between cause and effect, and those are chaotic systems. There's something in the middle as well, if you look at the whole thing, that's unordered, I believe. You don't really know yet where it belongs, right? Those are those kinds of problems. But why are we looking into this? Because most of the problems, or actually all the problems that involve human beings, people, in workshops, in current industries, are all complex problems. We can't necessarily predict what the outcome will be, but once we get an outcome, we understand where it comes from. We can explain it, we can reason about it, and we can use those learnings to apply in the future. So any of the complex problems that we're trying to achieve, we're better off doing it this way, working in a team, and actually having small iterations and seeing what the outcome will be, because you don't really know what the process will be through your workshop, which is why we're organizing it this way. Does that make sense? So this is a very high-level overview of what Kinefin is. Go and read up on it. Yeah?
I have a question regarding authority and trust and safety.
Yeah.
The expertise, yeah, should play a role. I mean, let's assume that you tackle a complex problem, but nobody has expertise in that domain.
Right.
So each one can have an opinion, but you know, it's good like to gather as many ideas as possible. But you know, the value of that idea is given by an expert or someone that has expertise. So if you don't have experts, then you know.
You're right. You need experts in the room. We'll get to that in a minute. That's why we identify the stakeholders for the workshop. So you need those experts. Absolutely certain. Does not mean, as you say, the other people can bring good ideas, but they need to be validated by those experts, right? And usually when you have experts in the room, they will gain more trust about their ideas anyways from the very beginning, right?
And I think they will learn something, because sometimes
it's the intent.
Someone that has no expertise in the domain could come up with an idea like out of the blue that
and not all experts are open to that, and that is something that we need to facilitate as a facilitator as well. So this is really when you use those things. So all of this whole workshop format is based on what I call agile thinking.